So I manage the community education programme in Kildare with the Education and Training Board. And my journey there, and I suppose the journey in global citizenship education, started about 15 or 16 years ago when I started acting as a tutor. And there was a particular course that I was delivering at the time. It was called Building Cultural Communities. I'm from the Cork-Kerry border, in case you didn't get the accent. And one of the things, I suppose, growing up down there was, you were guaranteed there'd be set dancing. Cork and Kerry would meet in the Munster final. The Rose of Tralee would always happen. But the bands that I loved as a teenager growing up, they were not coming to Rathmore. It was very frustrating. There was the Stunning and the Frank and Walters and the Sultans of Ping and all these people, but they weren't coming to Rathmore. And what do you do about that? So the only solution was to organise a course where you would empower people to think about, well, what could we do in our community? What change could we make? How could we be active? And so for a number of years, I went on a journey a bit like Rory with Social Entrepreneurs Ireland and people like that. And we delivered programs and supported people around the country to promote arts and cultural events. And what does that have to do with global citizenship education? Well, you see, at the core of that is action. It's about making a movement. It's about doing something. And in community education, one of the things we do, and I hope we do well, is we support groups who very often have a very negative experience of education in their younger years. People who are experiencing disadvantage in one form or another. And we help them to navigate the world, firstly maybe through an experience in terms of personal development. They might do a course that on the face of it looks like community art, or it might look like wood turning, but very often that's just a kind of a cover for addressing loneliness. And they move through that cycle then and start to engage and develop an awareness of the society they're living in and the community around them. And this year, I was very fortunate, and I suppose it shows what investment in global citizenship education can do. I was very fortunate to take part in a program called the Sustainable Development Goals Advocate Training. That's funded by Irish Aid and was delivered by Bobby and his team in Development Perspectives. And there was a few great things about that. First, it gave me a name for something we were kind of doing already, but we didn't realize it. And second is it gave us a better foundation to understand how we could move forward to embed that, as Lee talked about, into our practice and our work. Because people don't come to us looking for global citizenship education. They come to us with a whole host of other needs in their community. Their concerns about, as I said, things like loneliness, about, sometimes to do with poverty, sometimes to do with things like, they're just concerned that the community has become a bit fractured and they're not sure what's going on anymore, whether it's to do with migration or something like that. So how do you address those things? Very often you can't organise a course, well, we're going to deal with migration. Actually, what we're going to do is we'll have a course in the community, maybe about, but that's community art, and in that classroom there is a dialogue takes place. That while we're doing that stuff, whatever that artistic practice is, that the tutor opens up a conversation. Oh, I saw this in the paper. What's happening here in Monasterevin? Or what's happening in Kilcock or Sallins or wherever else? And when people are skilled, when you have good skilled facilitators holding that space, people all of a sudden can open up and talk about their fears and concerns and not be argued with about those things, but perhaps helped to reframe them, to learn what's going on, and then think about, well, what might we do about that? And we've seen some fantastic journeys that groups have gone on, and will continue to go on in that regard. So I mentioned a bit about the skilled facilitator. One of the things we've done this year is we've organised CPD training, continuous professional development training for our tutors, around the topic of difficult conversations and how you take those difficult conversations, firstly, to develop the confidence to have them and hold them in the classroom, and then turn them into positive action. Because it's through that action that the people make a difference, that they feel empowered, that they can change the community and the society they live in. We'll continue on that journey over the coming months with the support and the guidance we received through our training with Bobby and Co. And those tutors are now going to go back to groups all around County Kildare. And we have a target. Next March, AINTIS, which is a national organisation that supports adult learning, it organises something called the Adult Learner Festival. So our goal is to support a whole selection of our groups to take part in that Adult Learner Festival, to identify an action, a project that they can work on in the coming months and then deliver at that time. It'll be up to them what they choose. Every community is different. Every community has different needs. We have to respect that and work with that. But the theme we're taking this year, and it leads into the Vision 2030 piece, the theme we've chosen for this year is creating a better world. So what we want our groups to do, and what we're supporting them to do, is to think about how they can create a better world in their village, in their town, in their county, in their society. And that's only possible when there is support, when there's funding, when people have an understanding of what they're doing and why they're doing it, and when it's nurtured.